To start off today's lesson, we're going to have a grammar focus. So we're going to be having a look at some sentences which have got mistakes in them, and we're going to see if we can fix them to make sure that the grammar is correct. So I'm going to show you one sentence at a time. There's something wrong with it, and we have to work out what's wrong and how we can fix it. So the first one says, after the fiesta, Javier searches for Adelita to told her that he loves her. Now, you might be able to see that this sentence has got a complete mixture of tenses there. It's all mixed up in the past and the present. If we're telling a story about something that's already happened, it needs to be written in the past tense. So I think there's two verbs there that we'd need to fix. After the fiesta, Javier searches for Adelita. Does that make sense? If it's something he's already done, then it wouldn't be searches, it would be searched. So we're going to change the S to a D to make it searched for Adelita. To told her that he loves her. Now, told is a past tense word, but if you're saying that it's what he did, to told her doesn't make sense. He went to tell her. That's what he went to do. So told shouldn't be there. It should be tell. If the sentence was just Javier told her that he loved her, then that would make sense. So now let's read the sentence one more time and just check there's no more mistakes. After the fiesta, Javier searched for Adelita to tell her that he loves her. Javier searched for Adelita to tell her that he loved her would make more sense because then that would be in the past tense. So loves needs to change to loved, to tell her that he loved her. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the second sentence and see if we can fix that. There was loads of persons at the fiesta. Hopefully you can see a few mistakes here. There's definitely punctuation mistakes. Of course, every sentence has to start with a capital letter, so we need to have a capital T there. And it's just a normal sentence. There was loads of persons at the fiesta, so it needs a full stop at the end. There was loads of persons at the fiesta. I think there's one word that's wrong there, isn't there? Do you know what it should be? If there's one person, you'd say person. If there's more than one, you'd say people. And people is a common exception word, which I think we've looked at before. It's People. There was loads of people at the fiesta. Still doesn't sound completely right to me. I think there's one word that also needs changing. We don't say there was loads. We say there were loads because there's more than one person. If it was just one, you'd say was. But if it's more than one, if it's plural, we'd say were. So there were loads of people at the fiesta. There we go. Now we've fixed that. We've got one more to fix. The fiesta was jam-packed with people. How was Javier going to find his love? Right, I think the error here is to do with punctuation, isn't it? We of course know that every sentence should start with a capital, but I think there might be more than one sentence here. So let's see. Capital T for the beginning. The fiesta was jam-packed with people. How was Javier going to find his love? Where's the end of the first sentence? The fiesta was jam-packed with people. There we go. Should be a full stop after people. New sentence, so it needs to be a capital H. How was Javier going to find his love? Well, Javier is his name, so that should be a capital J. And what kind of sentence is this? How was Javier going to find his love? It's a question, so it needs to have a question mark at the end. Did you notice all of those mistakes? Were you able to fix them as well? Hopefully you were. And hopefully you can see now that it's important to proofread your work to make sure that there's no mistakes once you have done it. Now, today we're going to be looking at a new piece of punctuation, which I haven't really spoken about much before. It's quite important as part of a narrative, but it's important not to overuse it. But the skill of being able to do it is very, very important. So let's have a look today at using direct and reported speech. Speech is where a character is talking to somebody else. So we need to show how the character is talking by using the correct punctuation. So to be successful today, we're going to see if we can understand what speech is. We're going to see if we can understand how to write reported speech. We're going to see if we can use speech marks correctly to show direct speech, what the character is directly saying. And we're going to see if we can use the other sentence punctuation correctly to write speech sentences. Some adults even find using speech marks difficult because they just assume that the speech marks show what the character is saying and they don't worry about the other bits of punctuation. I'm going to introduce you today to how to use speech marks, but how to also use the other punctuation to correctly punctuate speech in sentences. So what I've got on the screen now for you is a picture from the story of Javier with Adelita, and Javier saying, "You look absolutely beautiful." You can see that in his speech bubble there. And Adelita is saying, "It's midnight, I must go." Now, if I want to write about how that character is saying that, or what the character is saying, I need to use what's called speech marks. Speech marks look a little bit like 2 lines up the top here, and then 2 lines up the top here at the end of the sentence. So they go at the start and the end of the sentence. They go at the start and the end of what has been said. So let's do that bit first of all. The character of Javier is saying, "You look absolutely beautiful." So I'm going to write, "You look absolutely beautiful." The speech marks need to go at the start of what he's saying and at the end of what he's saying. So I've now got the speech in speech marks. Now, do you notice that in this sentence, "You look absolutely beautiful," there's an exclamation mark at the end. That also needs to go at the end of what he's saying. So it goes, "You look absolutely beautiful," exclamation mark, and all of that is in the speech marks. Then you need to say who's saying it. So you would say, "Said Javier." And I could put a full stop there, but actually I could add a bit of extra detail and I could say that he said it lovingly, because he said it with lots of love in his heart. Now I've written my sentence with the correct punctuation. I've got the speech marks at the start, "You look absolutely beautiful," with the exclamation mark, then the speech marks to show that the speech has finished. But the sentence hasn't finished. The rest of the sentence is, "Said Javier lovingly," and that's why the full stop goes at the end. Let's have a look at Adelita's reply. She says, "It's midnight, I must go." That's 2 sentences that she's saying there. "It's midnight, full stop. I must go, full stop." When you are writing your speech sentence, you start with the speech mark. You have "It's midnight," and that's the end of her first sentence, so there's a full stop there. And "I must go." That's the end of her second sentence. But it is not the end of the whole sentence. It's just the end of the speech. So if I was to put a full stop there, that would be like putting a full stop in the middle of a sentence, and it doesn't make sense. So instead of putting a full stop, I just show that she's stopped speaking, but the sentence is going to carry on. So we're going to use a comma. And of course, because she stopped speaking, I do the speech marks again to show that she's stopped speaking. So I've got, "It's midnight, I must go." And then I need to say which character is saying it. I could say "Said Adelita," but I'm going to make it more interesting, and I'm going to say "Replied Adelita." It means the same thing, "Replied Adelita." Now she's saying it in quite an upset way, isn't she? So I'm going to add extra detail again and say "Replied Adelita with regret." And then I'll put my full stop at the very end there. Just have a recap about what I did to make my speech sentence. So my speech sentence, I have the speech mark, then what the character is saying with their punctuation at the end of it, and the speech mark to close it. Then I have the character's name saying it, so "Said Javier lovingly." If it's not the end of the whole sentence, which is not in this case, you don't put a full stop, you put a comma. Of course, if it's a question, you put a question mark. If it's an exciting sentence, you might put an exclamation mark. But any other sentences, you'd put a comma there because the sentence is not finished. Then you say which character is saying it by using the word "said," or a synonym for "said," a word that also means the same. So you could have words like "replied," "argued," "shouted," "whispered." There's all sorts of words you could use that would mean the same as "said." If you use the word "said" again and again, it can get a bit boring, can't it? That's why you might want to vary the way that you do it. Now, for your task today, I'm going to get you to think about just the direct speech. Direct speech is where it uses speech marks, but there's also something called reported speech, which doesn't need speech marks. So I'm going to show you about that now. "You will go to the fiesta," exclaimed Esperanza. That's an example of direct speech because it's the character directly saying what they're saying. "You will go to the fiesta" is what she said. It's in speech marks, you can see there. However, this is called reported speech because it doesn't actually have what the character said, but it tells you what they said. Esperanza exclaimed that Adelita would get to go to the fiesta. So sometimes you might want to explain what's happening in the story, the action in the story, without actually directly saying what the character is saying. That's called reported speech. You've already practiced reported speech before because we've done that in narratives. We haven't done much direct speech, and that's why for your task today, we're going to be looking specifically at direct speech. So to be successful today in your task, you're going to read through the sentences, you're going to fill in the missing punctuation, so the speech marks and the rest of the sentence punctuation. Remember, if you're not sure, you can go back and have a look at what I did just to make sure you've got the right idea. And don't forget to add said, which the character is saying. If you'd like a challenge, you could change the word said to another verb, for example, shouted, whispered, called. There are lots of different words you could use. Maybe if you're looking for some more words to use, you could look in a thesaurus, find the word said, and it will tell you lots of different words that you could use instead of said. If you need an extension today because you think, well, do you know what? I was quite good at speech. I'm going to maybe push myself. I'd like to see if you can create some of your own sentences using direct speech for different characters. Don't forget your speech marks. Don't forget the comma if it's just the middle of a sentence. Remember, it's the end of the speech, but not the end of the sentence. The full stops and capital letters, and of course, using the word said or a better verb instead of using said. So on DB Primary, you can download the activity you're going to do to fill in the missing punctuation and just make sure that you are sure about how you punctuate that sentence. And if you're not sure, remember to review this video and have a look again at how to create speech sentences. I wish you the best of luck. This is a difficult task, so if you are finding it difficult, then do send an email on DB Primary to one of the teachers, and we're more than happy to help you.